Okay, so I want to talk about the healthcare debate that's going on right now, actually, as we speak, in the Senate. And I was watching some of it on C-SPAN before, and the Republicans have pretty much dropped every other argument they were using, except for the main argument now is fiscal irresponsibility. If the Democrats pass this bill, it is fiscally irresponsible and it's going to add to the deficit, and we can't have that because we can't put that kind of burden on our grandchildren and our kids and right. So, as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking to myself, this is so disingenuous because the Republicans may be the party that claim to be all about fiscal responsibility, but in reality, nothing can be further from the truth, and I'm going to use these statistics to prove my point. First of all, Ronald Reagan, the absolute messiah of the Republican Party, okay, he had a deficit of $200+ billion. When Reagan entered office, the national debt was at $995 billion. When he left, it was at $2.6 trillion. George H.W. Bush, the first one, his deficit was $325 billion. The national debt he left was $4.35 trillion, so again, a giant adding to the deficit. George W. Bush, of course, was the first president to break the trillion mark for the deficit. His record deficit, $1.4 trillion. And his national debt when he entered office was $5.7 trillion, and when he left it was $11 trillion. So he almost doubled the national debt. Now, the only president out of these past 4 or 5 presidents that had a surplus was Bill Clinton, the Democrat. He had a $230 billion surplus when he left office. Now, I bring this up to make the point that all of a sudden the Republicans are fiscal hawks and everything needs to be on budget. Well, excuse me, you didn't hear a peep out of the Republicans when it was a Republican who was adding to the deficit and adding to the debts. Just because it's a Democrat in office now, that's their main argument. And they're sticking to it as if it's a principled argument. But that's not even the weirdest part. The weirdest part about what the Republicans are saying, and the most disingenuous part about what the Republicans are saying, is that the Congressional Budget Office says that the health care bill would cut the federal deficit, not add to it, by $127 billion over the first 10 years. And if all of Obama's proposals are put into place, his health care bill, cap and trade, everything put together, you want to talk about fiscal responsibility, his overall deficit projected at the end of his first term is supposed to be $533 billion by 2013. In other words, if we had continued George Bush's policies when he was in office, we would still be in the $1 trillion in deficits. But if we enact all of Obama's policies, then the deficit will be cut in half, or in more than half, to $533 billion. So basically the point I'm making is that every argument being proposed by the Republicans against this health care reform, and especially this fiscal responsibility argument, is complete and utter bullshit.